Shalom Yasharallah. Giving all praise and glory to the Most High as always. We'll start off with Colossians 3:17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all by Hashem Mashiach Yahushua, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by Hashem Mashiach Yahushua. So all that we say and do is going to be in the name of the anointed Savior. And we give thanks to the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We say that's his name forever and memorial to all generations. Jacob being the forefather of the 12 tribes of Israel. So we give thanks to the Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for everything. He's worthy to be praised for everything. Hallelujah to his glorious and holy name. So I was asked concerning cremation and burials, So I'm going to do the best I can, go through the scriptures. I was just asked this, so bear with me. We're going to look at it in the scriptures of certain scenarios of cremation and burial. And it's really touching because, of the losses that we've lost. Our brothers and sisters that we lost this year so far. Unlike any other years, so fast, man. So let's look at Joshua, the 7th chapter. And so it's going to be a lot of reading, but you're going to see, we are looking to our culture of how we operated. And learn concerning our past. So let's look at Joshua, the 7th chapter. Let's start at verse 8. And we're going to read down. It said, O Most High, what shall I say? We're at Joshua, the 7th chapter, 8th verse. When Israel turned their backs before their enemies, for the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it. They're going to hear that we turn our backs before the enemies, and shall environ us round, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name? Because our name is Yasharallah, and the Most High name is within our name, Yah. He's a prince of the power. So it says, verse 10, and the Most High said unto Joshua, get thee up, wherefore liest thou thus upon thy face? Get up off your face, man. Israel have sinned, meaning we have broken the laws of the Most High. And they have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. But they have even taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen and disassembled also. And they have put it even among their own stuff. Took all these accursed things. Because a lot of times, most I would say, don't touch nothing that they have. These other nations say, leave whatever they have alone. Don't touch anything that they have. Leave it alone. You don't want us to touch nothing, he says. So, but we would, sometimes, what we would do? We would still get the accursed things and put it among us, like he's saying. And he told us not to. So, here we are. See, therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, had to run from the enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you anymore, except you destroy the accursed from among you. The things that's wrong that we did and things that we had that were accursed from our enemies. Up, sanctify the people, clean the people up, and say, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow. But thus said the Most High power of Israel, there is an accursed thing in the midst of thee, O Israel. Thou cannot stand before thine enemies until ye take away the accursed thing from among you. So he said we're going to be a stand before our enemies until we get rid of the accursed thing that we had in the midst of us. In the morning, therefore, ye shall be brought according to your tribes. And it shall be that the tribe which the Most High taketh shall come according to the families thereof. He's bringing all the families to him. Each tribe and the family which the Most High shall take shall come by households. And the household which the Most High shall take shall come man by man. Each household, man by man. And it shall be that he that is taken with the accursed thing shall be burnt with fire. He and all that he hath, because he hath transgressed the covenant of the Most High, and because he hath wrought folly in Israel by sinning and taking of the cursed things of these other nations. When the Most High told us, he told us, go to Deuteronomy 7th chapter. Deuteronomy 7, and we're going to read verse 5. This is what he told us when we inherit these other nations' lands. He said, but thus shalt thou deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. He said, for thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power. The Most High thy power have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. How special? Above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So he told us to destroy their altars, to break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. But no, we took the accursed things with us. That's the problem. Just like it is today. Most High gave us laws, statutes, commandments to follow. We want to follow all these religions and whatever comes up. We want to be involved with that instead of coming back to him in righteousness by keeping his laws, statutes, commandments. Joshua 7:16. So Joshua rose up early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes, and the tribe of Judah was taken. First tribe of Judah was taken. And he brought the family of Judah. And he took the family of the Zarhites. And he brought the family of the Zarhites man by man. And Zabdi was taken. And he brought his household man by man. And Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, was taken. You see, he's taken tribe by tribe. It says, and Joshua said unto Achan, my son, give, I pray thee, glory to the Most High power of Israel. Give power to the Most High power of Israel. And make confession unto him. He said, make confession unto him. And tell me now what thou hast done. Hide it not from me. Say, don't hide it from me. And Achan answered Joshua and said, indeed, I have sinned against the Most High power of Israel, and thus have I done. When I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonian garment, you see this garment that the Babylonians had, and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, then I coveted them. I desired them. Coveted means you want what somebody else have. And took them, and behold, they are hid in the earth, in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it. So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran into the tent, and behold, it was hid in his tent, and the silver under it. And they took them out of the midst of the tent, and brought them unto Joshua. So everything that he had, that was the cursed thing, they brought them to Joshua, and unto all the children of Israel, and laid them out before the Most High. Laid them out so everybody could see. And Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan, son of Zerah, and the silver, and the garment, and the wedge of gold, and his sons, and his daughters, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that he had, and they brought them unto the valley of Achor. And Joshua said, Why hast thou troubled us? Why have you done this? The Most High shall trouble thee this day. And all Israel stoned him with stones and burned them with fire, after they had stoned him with stones. And they raised over him a great heap of stones. You see, that's when they burn him with, they burn him up. They burned them with fire, after they had stoned him with stones. Then they burned them with fire. And they raised over him a great heap of stones unto this day. So the Most High turned from the fierceness of his anger, wherefore the name of that place was called the Valley of Achor unto this day. Okay, that's one case scenario. Look at 1 Samuel 31st chapter. 1 Samuel the 31st chapter. This is concerning Saul, our first king's death. So Saul is in a battle against the Philistines, who are Egyptians. So 1 Samuel 31 and 3 is that, and the battle went sore against Saul. He's our first king. And the archers hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. The archers, they hit him, they got him. And he was wounded by an arrow. Then said Saul unto his armor bearer, Draw thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through, and abuse me. You know what he means. I hope you know what he means by abuse them. Because what can they do to you? What can they do to you to abuse you? They done thrust you through. Now they say they come through and they abuse them. They would have sex with them. It's crazy. They do all kind of heinous things to his body. That's what he said. Then said Saul unto his armor bearer, Draw thy sword and thrust me through therewith, lest these uncircumcised come and thrust me through and abuse me. But his armor bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword and died with him. His armor bearer died right with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor bearer, and all his men, that same day together. And when the men of Israel that were on the other side of the valley, and they that were on the other side of Jordan, saw that the men of Israel fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, they forsook the cities and fled. And the Philistines came and dwelt in them, took over our cities. And it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa. So they went through, like you see, they went through, they stripping the slain of what they had on, their clothes, the garments, like the brother that just got burned up. He just burnt them up because he took the garments. They see the Babylonian garment. Just what they did. The Philistines did to us. Because when you went to war, you ain't go to war looking all shabby. You went to war looking sharp. You had, wow, that's a spirit. Woo. And praise the Most High about so much. Wow. When you turn this book and it go right to what you're talking about, you know. Hey, what can I say? First Maccabees 1:14, all praise to the Most High. It say the ancient, this is verse 9. First Maccabees 14-9. It say the ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. You hear that? The young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. That's why whenever there was a war and you won, just like the brother said, he seen a beautiful Babylonian warlike garment. He wanted it. You see what happened to him? They stoned him to death, then cremated him, burned him. And then Isaiah 52:1 says, awake, awake. If you're awake, you're not asleep. Come out of this darkness. It's saying, awake, awake, put on thy strength. This is what it say, put on strength. This makes you strong. O Zion, O 12 tribes of Israel, put on thy beautiful garments. O Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. So they said, put on our beautiful garments. We're rehearsing, so we can have beautiful garments. Ain't nobody gonna come through that's the uncircumcised, like Saul said, the uncircumcised and the unclean. Say, follow me, because they gonna come and defile my body. See, rather die a man than die being molested by these Philistines. So now, going back to 1 Samuel 31, verse 8 again, say, and it came to pass on the morrow, when the Philistines came to strip the slain of our clothes and so forth, our glorious warlike apparel, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen in Mount Gilboa, Salakia. So they found Saul and his 3 sons. And they cut off his head. Hear that? They cut off his head and stripped off his armor and sent into the land of the Philistines round about to publish it in the house of their idols and among the people. That's something. See? All the gods of the nations are idols. Psalms 96:5. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth, Semiramis, another name for Semiramis, Ashtaroth. And they fastened his body to the wall of Bethlehem. You hear that? And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth. His armor weighed about 75 pounds. And think about this. King David, as a young man, he asked David if he wanted to wear his armor when he went to fight Goliath. David was a pretty big dude. And Saul was like one of the largest men in Israel. You were going to ask him to wear it if he was, a small cat? No. And they put his armor in the house of Ashtaroth. Man. Their idol. And they fastened his body to the wall of Beth-shan. So he put his body on the wall, fastened his body on the wall. Cut off his head, took his body, put it on the wall. And when the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard of that which the Philistine had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose, all the mighty men arose, and went all night, and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Beth-shan, and came to Jabesh and burnt them there. They burnt them there. So that they was cremated. And they took their bones and buried them under a tree at Jabesh and fasted 7 days. He had cut his head off. see, all the valiant men arose, verse 12, and went all night and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bishad and came to Jabez and burnt them there. So they were cremated. Look at the death that they had. And they took their bones and buried them under a tree at Jabesh and fasted 7 days. You know, it's something about the, we'll see as we go into it, you know, this cremation that they do now, they cremate everything. I'm going over this because I was asked about cremation and burial. At the beginning of my class, and it's something touching because one of my best friends I'm hearing was cremated. And it's something that we need to look at to be able to, you know, determine what we're going to do. I know we all need to look into having insurance, and we're working on something for that, for the nation. Hopefully be able to present it to the nation very soon, because it's something that we need. So let's go to 2 Kings, 23rd chapter. This is wicked. Let's look at 2 Kings 23. As I said, I'm just really wasn't prepared. I was asked this, so I'm going over the best I can, and the Spirit of the Most High will get to this. 2 Kings 23, and let's look at let's look at verse 1. And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Most High, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people brought small and great, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant which was found in the house of the Most High. The covenant that he gave with who? He gave to who? The Israelites. And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Most High to walk after the Most High and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and all his soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. So all the people said, we're going to follow the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of the Most High all the vessels that were made up for Baal. You know, this wicked worshiping Satan, and for the grove, and for all the hosts of heaven. Remember, they tell you in Jeremiah 10 10, 1 and 2. All the hosts of heaven, right? Jeremiah 10, 1 and 2. Hear ye the word which the Most High speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus said the Most High, learn not the way of the heathen. What do you say? Learn not the way of these other nations. Learn not the way of these other nations. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. See? Be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. The sun, the moon, the stars. For the heathen are dismayed at them, right? That's why it's saying what it's saying here. 2 Kings 23 and 4. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest and the priests of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Most High all the vessels that were made for Baal and for the grove and for all the host of heaven. You see that? And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Gidron and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. What you see here? This is what these nations do. They worship Satan. They worship the groves. They worship the host of heaven, the stars, the moon, the sun. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kitron and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. Because it tells you in Psalms 96 and 5, I quoted it, let's go there. Psalms 96 and 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols. Why do it say this next? But the Most High made the heavens. Because he didn't make the heavens for us to worship anything. That's why he told us in Exodus 20th chapter, go to Exodus 20, which represents the 10 commandments. How we serve the Most High, and how we serve each other. How we love the Most High and how we love each other. This is what the Most High told us. Exodus 20 and 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, no other idols before him. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. This is key right here. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. Because a lot of people, they bowing down. They got something that's in front of them, a cross or something they got in front of them, and they bowing down to that. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Most High, thy power, and made jealous power, visited iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. You see? So he's showing it. He's showing this the iniquity of the fathers upon their children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So those of the past, those you go at 3 generations, they wasn't dealing with the truth, they weren't dealing with the Most High, then the children of those people have to pay. The third and the fourth generation to them that hate him, and showing mercy unto them, thousands of them that love me, and what? And keep my commandments. So going back to 2 Kings 23, verse 5, and he put down the idolatrous priests that was set up, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah. Wicked kings, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. See? Wicked Israelites. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Most High without Jerusalem unto the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder. He stamped it down to powder, and cast the powder thereon upon the graves of the children of the people. And he brake down the houses of the Sodomites. These are homosexuals. He brake down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Most High, where the women wove hangings for the grove. See, the women being wicked, They wove hangings for the grove. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and break down the high places of the gates that were in the entering of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were of a man's left hand at the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of the Most High in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brethren. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the children of Hernan, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Molech. See, that's what we were doing. Causing our sons and our daughters to pass through the fire of Molech. That's why it was prophesied and talked about us in Psalms 106 and 35. But we're mingled among the heathen, and did what? Learn their works. Most I said learn not the way of the heathen, but we were mingled among these heathen nations and learned their works. And they served their idols, which was a snare, which is a trap unto them. Yeah, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils. Listen, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and their daughters, as we're reading about, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. It's unbelievable how wicked we were and can be. To sacrifice our sons and our daughters unto these idols of these heathen nations. Thus were they defiled with their own works and went a-whoring with their own inventions. Therefore was the wrath of the Most High kindled against his people, we the Israelites, insomuch that he hated his own inheritance. And he gave them into the hand of the heathen. Since you want to follow the heathen, I'm going to give you to the hand of the heathen. And they that hated them, not loved us, but they that hated them, ruled over them. Their enemies also oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand, as it is today. There many times did he deliver them, but they provoked him with their counsel, and were brought low for their iniquity. Nevertheless, he regarded their affliction. He said, in our affliction, we're gonna seek him early. He regarded our affliction when he heard their cry. That's the solution. When he heard our cry out to the Most High. This ain't something that you just gotta look at, oh, you all right, so now you ain't gotta cry. We gotta cry to the Most High. This is the last time we gotta cry. That's the only time he had pity on us. You hear what he said? Nevertheless, he regarded their affliction. He regarded Jacob's trouble when he heard our cry. We cried out to him. And he remembered for them, for us, the children of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, his covenant, his contract, his agreement. And repented according to the multitude of his mercies. See? So now, going back to 2 Kings, 23rd chapter. Verse 10. And he defiled Japheth, which is in the valley of the children of Herman, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Molech. This is what we were doing to our sons and daughters. The Most High hated us for this. And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the son, at the entering in the house of the Most High by the chamber of Nathan Melech, the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and burned the chariots of the sun with fire, and the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Most High, did the king beat down and break them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kitron. Beat them down to powder. In the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mount of corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had builded for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians. These are idol gods. And Solomon in his old age went off and made temples for these idols of these women that he had married of these other nations. Why the Most High told us in Deuteronomy 7:3 concerning these other nations. Because Most High, he gave every man his woman. Every man have a woman that's of his race or lineage or species, I might say. Look at Deuteronomy 7:3. Neither shall thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Why? But they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. That's what we read about. They may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Most High be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. That's what we're looking at. So, 2 Kings 23:13. In the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mount of corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had builded for Ashtaroth, the abomination of the Zidonians, and for Shemash, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon, did the king defile. See? And the Most High gave Solomon so much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And he came to him twice. He ain't listen. And he brake in pieces the images and cut down the groves and filled their places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel in the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, he was over the northern tribes. He was over the northern tribes. Jeroboam, he was over the northern tribes, and Jeroboam, Solomon's son, was over the southern kingdom. You're the 9.5 tribes. Jeroboam was over them. Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, he made 2 calves. Had made both that altar and the high place. He brake down and burned the high place, and stamped it small to powder, and burned the grove. And as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were there in the mount, and sent and took the bones out of the sepulchre, and burned them upon the altar, and polluted it, according to the word of the Most High, which the man of the Most High proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. He burned the bones on the altar and polluted it. Then he said, what title is that I see? We're in 2 Kings 23rd chapter, 17th verse. Then he said, what title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, it is the sepulchre of the man of the Most High, which came from Judah, and proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, let him alone. Let no man move his bones. So they let his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria. So he left his bones alone. And all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, this is northern Israel, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke the Most High to anger, Josiah took away, and did to them according to all the acts that he had done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places. That's what he did. And he slew all the priests of the high places, concentrate on this verse, that were there upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. So he burned them up. He slew all the priests of the high places that was doing all these heinous, wicked acts that were there upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. And the And the king commanded all the people, saying, keep the Passover unto the Most High your power, as it is written in the book of this covenant. Josiah, he had a bad. That's why surely there was not holding such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor in all the days of the kings of Israel, nor of the kings of Judah. He had a bad Passover. So from there, we're gonna look at Amos, the 2nd chapter, and then we're going to I got about a couple more. Then we're going to the burials. See if I want to see. Amos, the 2nd chapter. See, they made everything for their pagan worship, and we fell right along with it. This what Moab did to Edomite king. Go to Amos 2:1. Thus said the Most High, for 3 transgressions of Moab, the aboriginal Chinese, coming from Lot's daughter, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he burned the bones of the king of Edom into lime. But I will send a fire upon Moab, and it shall devour the palaces of Kiriath. And Moab shall die with turmoil, uproars, rioting, with shouting, and with the sound of the trumpet. I will cut off the judge from the midst thereof, and will slay all the princes thereof with him, said the Most High. So, I mean, the judgment is coming. Everybody's got to pay for what they've done. You pay now, you pay later, but that's what the Most High is talking about, judgment. We pay as Israelites, so they got to pay. That's only fair. So, you know, it's something as we look at this, how a lot of times you hear us say in the spirit that the way they operate in this world today is not as it is in the Bible. Because look at this scenario. Okay, look at Amos the 6th chapter. Let's look at verse 8. We're going to look at 8, 9, and 10. And the Most High hath sworn by himself, said the Most High, the power of hosts, power of armies, power of angels. I abhor means to hate the excellency of Jacob, and hate his palaces. Therefore will I deliver up the city with all that is therein. And man, that place over there, Israel, looks desolate. And it shall come to pass, if there remain 10 men in one house, that they shall die. So I'm going to kill all of them. Be 10 men in a house, they're going to die. Listen at this. And a man's uncle shall take him up, and he that burneth him, cremate him, to bring out the bones out of the house, and shall say unto him that is by the sides of the house, is there yet any with thee? And he shall say, no. Then shall he say, Hold thy tongue, be quiet, for we may not make mention of the name of the Most High. So you see here, when they burn them, you notice over and over they had the bones. The bones were still left. But here, their cremation, they burn everything. You just have all ashes. So we had the bones. And we're going to see more as we go into our more concerning the burial, how it was done. And,